let me share my screen and actually share a little presentation with you about kind of my initial, let's say, experiences or thoughts on Solana. Give me 1 second. I thought I had 2 screens, which now I don't have, so I am slightly more. This is not ideal. Okay, 1 second. Okay, you know what? We're not going to share the screen. I'm just going to talk to you. It's easiest. We're flexible here, and I can share the presentation in the channel or something later if you want to see it. It's just a few slides because I figured it might be nice to have something to read while I speak, so it's not like just talking at you, but it's fine. So, well, so first of all, I'm really excited to be here. Maybe a little bit about me. Thank you already for the intro. So yeah, I'm chief of staff at Nuri. It's a blockchain-powered neobank based in Berlin. I also do a variety of other little things because I'm quite, I have a lot of interests. I have a little startup in the food tech area, and I've been running a business in ed tech as well for a few years now on the side. Really quite exciting projects, and now have recently discovered the blockchain space and have been quite into it for a while now. And Solana has come up recently as a new interesting project that I've kind of been reading up on and just researching a bit. And like Yip said, I'm really sharing here more of a high level overview or strategic overview of what I see in Solana and how it is maybe a good investment in terms of your time to read up on it more and resources, potentially even to build on, like we just saw with Bonus on Solana. So first of all, what is it? It's when I read about it first, I realized, or I saw that it's an open, fair, censorship-resistant global marketplace, which I thought was quite an interesting description of what it is. Open, fair, censorship-resistant, global, and marketplace. So quite a lot of words in there. And I think we're going to go through a little bit of why I think this is the description that I chose to describe Solana here today. Another point, which I think is relatively important to just understand it, is the person behind it, or the person behind the proof of history concept, which is Anatoly Yakovenko. And I don't know if any of you read his white paper. I basically just tried, and I thought it was so technical that it's really quite hard to understand. But one of the points I took from it was he named Solana after a beach he really loved, which is, I think, quite a nice takeaway. But the technical aspects, I'm sure other people will be able to explain a lot better than I can. But a few points I'm going to go through today as well. So first of all, I think one of the most important points about what is Solana, and of course I had this nicely displayed on the slides, so bear with me for being a bit less organized right now. But under the title, what is Solana? I would say it's often referred to as being, as we've heard, many times today, as one of the most, or maybe the most scalable and first truly web scale blockchain in the world, with achieving, over 1,000 transactions per second, which a lot of other blockchains don't, right? And this one, is so fast, essentially, and you can build so much on it. It remains one of the few layer 1 blockchain protocols. And what does that mean? So, for those who don't know this, a layer 1 network is essentially a blockchain like Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, which is directly the blockchain. A layer 2 protocol is essentially like a third-party integration that can be used in conjunction of a layer 1 blockchain, like a Lightning Network, I think is a good example for like a layer 2 protocol. So Solana remains one of those, layer 1 blockchain protocols. And its vision is essentially being an open infrastructure that empowers developers to really easily deploy, very scalable decentralized apps and composable building blocks without kind of dealing with all of this additional friction caused by like sharding and other layer 2 complications that often come up because they are not, the direct blockchain. And what I also found really interesting when I was doing my research on Solana, looking at, is it worth investing my time and resources and recommending it even once I get to that stage of knowledge to people that want to build on Solana. And what I found really interesting is looking at this blockchain trilemma, where there's a hypothesis around that a decentralized network can really only satisfy 2 out of 3 main properties, being decentralization versus security versus scalability. And I think Solana is really solving this trilemma in a very distinct and a very clever way. If we look at it in a little bit more detail, I think the trade-off of pure decentralization is speed. So if a transaction requires, multiple confirmations before reaching a consensus, it just takes longer, right? So, for example, Bitcoin is really decentralized, but it's quite slow. And then you have, of course, the scalability factor. So you might have a strong focus of scalability, but then it might actually be quite centralized and not really decentralized as a trade-off. And thirdly, often when we look at security, of course, then a lot of the time scalability has a trade-off of basically being less secure, which is very, very important, right? We want to make sure that what we build on or the blockchain we use is very, very secure. So I would say that security creates kind of the groundwork for decentralization and scalability. And I think with Solana, we do have a very clear example of a blockchain that kind of solves this trilemma, or is a very good way to do so, being secure, being scalable, and decentralized. And of course, we've heard this again many times today, but another aspect that I found very interesting, and I think if you're giving, which this presentation is supposed to be really an overview of what Solana actually is, maybe more for a beginner audience, I would say another very important factor is that it's such a high performance permissionless blockchain with, I believe, a network of about 200 distinct nodes, generating a throughput of about 50,000 transactions per second, right? So that is very fast. And also, I know a bonus just said it in their presentation as well, but Solana has a block time of about 400 milliseconds, whereas I believe Ethereum is 10 and Bitcoin is about 10 minutes. So it's a very, Ethereum is 10 seconds, sorry, and Bitcoin is about 10 minutes. So it's a very, very different speed of creating blocks on the blockchain than other existing protocols out there. Then, of course, it's relatively cheap with transaction fees at about 1/100 of a penny. And another really interesting factor here is that it has a very unique consensus architecture. And I've touched upon this briefly, and I know it has been touched upon, again, a variety of times throughout the day, and I believe it will be in more detail potentially later as well. But as we all know, that Solana uses a kind of a proof of stake consensus mechanism, but it combines it with this proof of history. So this proof of history concept places like a specific time and date on the block. So, and I think that that's one of the reasons, again, during my research to understand also why the native token Sol has skyrocketed so much, because it is a very specific, very fast, and very, improvement to existing options or protocols out there. And I guess just to touch upon it very briefly, the proof of history concept solves the problem of time, so it makes things faster. Essentially, all participants in the network can reach consensus on time. So it can verify that a certain transaction has happened at a specific moment in time, rather than having all validators agree that was that at this point of time. Solana also has about as I understand, about 25 blocks being validated by about 25 people at once. So again, it's very easy, therefore, to surpass, for example, Visa in transactions per second so easily. Additionally, one thing that I found also quite interesting was that for Solana, you only really need to hold a small amount of the coin in order to stake it, versus with Ethereum 2.0, you need 32 ETH, which is quite a lot of money. And but on Solana, you also need to pay a fee to vote, as I understand, which is still less than the cost that you have with Ethereum just to be able to stake it. And again, probably another cool thing about Solana, and like I said, on the slides, it would have been so nicely managed, but is C-level. So I understand that C-level means that validators can kind of run smart contracts in parallel, so tens of thousands of smart contracts to modify kind of the blockchain at the same time, which I believe is also quite I would say, technological advancement and a really strong use case or why Solana is so much better than others, or at least different and should be considered over other blockchain protocols out there. Funding, I believe that is another issue or aspect that one should look at. I know Maria mentioned this in her presentation as well. So Solana went through 4 private funding rounds, and it sold about 36%, I believe, with the ICO. Then it went for which was quite cheap, right? It's during the ICO it was quite cheap, and now it's a lot of profit made here. I believe 13% about went to the founders and 10 went to the foundation, as well as then the rest of about 39% went to fund community initiatives, which are also still held by the foundation as well. So this is relatively important, I believe, when you're looking at the blockchain in itself and what kind of, how it's funded, right? It's important to know these aspects when you're evaluating, am I putting my time and resources on there? So in summary, and again, like I mentioned, this was supposed to be really quite a high-level overview of what Solana is. Probably should have been put at the very beginning of the day today, but due to time restrictions, was a bit later in the day. So I know you've heard quite a lot of these things before. But maybe my last point before maybe we can even use the past few minutes either to have a discussion or to take a break, or maybe Yip can add a few things as well from her knowledge, and so now she has an extensive knowledge base on the topic. A really, really nice thing that I found when researching Solana and looking at is not just the technology stack, where you have everything from 8 main factors such as sea level or the proof of history or pipeline or tower BFT and all these more technical reasons why maybe developers would want to build on Solana blockchain. But there are other really great thing I think about Solana is that it has a very strong community, as we can see today. And I think as we can see when we just look at numbers, I think it has tens of thousands of members within over 35 countries, Telegram community with over 73,000 members, Discord community reaching over 20,000, 140,000 people following Solana on Twitter. So it really reflects a very big buy-in that Solana already has. And I guess it's a very good reason as well to reflect upon if you want to invest your time and resources into Solana in whatever way you may want to, because I think it just shows that there's a lot of people that are interested and very excited about this new technology.
Hey, Mona, thank you very, very, very much for this bird's eye perspective. I think actually it's very good that it came now after we heard a lot of different manifestations of people building on the Solana ecosystem, because sometimes when you go too deep, you lose the forest for the trees, right? And I felt like this morning we listened to all the different trees and sometimes looked at the leaves when we talk very technical about certain things. And now you brought back the forest and you helped us like basically link everything together. I think it's good actually to take a break now for 8 minutes. I will open up the breakout rooms just in case people want to chit chat with each other. You can always like go into the breakout rooms, but nobody has to. And then in 8 minutes, we will listen to Ankur's presentation on the Indian ecosystem of blockchain. And then we have like a half an hour really time to sit down, collect and so on until we launch it up again for Michael, who was here earlier, but will come back soon to the conference. Thanks, guys, everyone. I will be offline just for a few minutes also to take a break. And thank you, Mona, very, very, very much.
Thank you, guys. Where is best for me to share the slides that people can just have this bird's eye overview, in their repositories if they want to just double check some stuff?
That's totally cool. Send it in the speakers group, and then I will share it with the community.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.